What's good, people? Happy Easter weekend. You know what it is. Your boy NLG back with another video. We're going to be talking about the Arsenal today. I know we've got a game against Ipswich tomorrow, but bun all that, got a fresh trim. It's looking all sharp. And also, we beat Real Madrid. We're into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. Remontada. That's what they were trying to tell us. But hey, guess who progressed? It was us. There was no comeback in sight. I want to speak about why Arsenal have to win the Champions League this season. There's a lot riding on it. So look, drop a like on this video if you like it, drop a sub if you love it to be a part of the NLG fam, and let's talk about it. Now, again, we've got Ipswich on the weekend, but we've just beaten Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate. Bro's got Ancelotti on the vape vibe. Don Carlo, he ain't even on the cigars no more. He's got him smoking vapes. This team are on the verge of something great, and we have a lot of players at this club whose futures at the club are swinging in the balance, and we need to really take this seriously. Now, let's think about it. Arsenal haven't been to a Champions League semi-final since 08-09, I believe. That's when we lost to Man United in the semi-finals of the Champions League. And then, of course, we know the dreaded final that we had in 05-06. So there's revenge to be had there potentially. So Arsenal have had, a series of quarterfinals over the last 25 years, but we've only been to one final and two semi-finals in recent history, the most recent being Real Madrid. We've got some top players at this club. There are some players that a lot of ops, Rio Ferdinand or anybody else, Scorcher, a couple of people who are sharing their opinion, but maybe where they're saying, Rice ain't world class, or Rice is dead, he's overrated, or Saka's overrated. The two centre backs, to be fair, I think people know they're of world class standard. But a lot of the conversation, and to be fair, I get it to some extent. Some people have been saying, yeah, we need to see them do it on the biggest stage in the biggest games. And we got that. Rice showing up in the biggest games. Rice has ascended. Rice arrived. I know his start to the season got people questioning whether, did West Ham rob us? But don't get it twisted. Rice is worth every penny. The thing is, though, let's talk about the real situation under the curtains here. Let's have a look at contracts. So, within the next 2 years, we've got all of these contracts expiring. Now, most of us know this, and this is why Andrea Berta is going to be so key to how we strategize the summer window. He's got a big-ass job on his hand. He's got to make sure we sign top quality. He's got to retain these players. But also, in my opinion, we need to win this Champions League to let these players know and give them the confidence that there is more to be gained. There is trophies we can put in the cabinet. And I think the way that would change, not just our culture, but the mentality of these players and the players we will sign going forward will be massive. Look at the Premier League. We're facing Ipswich tomorrow in the Premier League. Does anybody really care about that game? No. As Arsenal fans, actually, we actually probably should care about that game a bit more than meets the eye, because Newcastle are only 4 points behind us. So if we mess up and don't keep winning and we keep getting these draws in the Premier League, Newcastle could catch up to us and potentially take our second spot. We might end up third or fourth if we're not careful. Nottingham Forest are not too far behind Newcastle. I believe they're 2 points behind. So we've got this situation in the Premier League, and you might say, the difference between second and fourth doesn't matter, but there's prize money for those positions, I believe. So we've got to make sure there's prize money for qualifying for the Champions League, obviously. There's prize money for, getting further into the Champions League competition, and we've done that. There's also prize money for winning smaller cups like the Carabao Cup and things like that. Already, when we're looking at players like, I don't think we'll get Isak, but Newcastle could mount a serious Premier League charge next season. Nottingham Forest, we don't know what they'll be able to do when they qualify. It looks like they'll qualify. That money is going to do a world of difference for their club. So Arsenal have got a situation with contracts. We can see that Saka, William Saliba, who, by the way, people are saying, Saliba, Madrid are knocking on his door. Well, We knocked Madrid out, but at the end of the day, all of these players, including Saliba, have said one thing and one thing only: full screen mode. They're here to win trophies. The other big thing about all of this is Mikel Arteta's contract. This is a big, big factor. Now, you might think, I'm not. Am I the biggest Arteta fan? Let me say, when Arteta came in, I was sure he'd be a yes man for the Cronkies. I think the Cronkies will appoint anybody who falls in line with their way of thinking. However, I never doubted for 1 second that Arteta would be an intelligent guy. The fact he's been at Arsenal, he would have been able to point out the weaknesses in Wenger's latter years at the club. And he's done just that. The one thing I doubt is whether Arteta should have been given as much time to get there. But I think Arteta can get there. The question now is, can he get over the line? He's gotten us competing. I think Arteta's job at Arsenal was way more than just a typical, managerial role. He had to change the culture of the club. And that's way harder than it might seem. Arteta's contract runs out in 2027. He just renewed this contract, by the way. Whether you like Arteta or not, this is big. This is massive. If Arteta doesn't win a trophy in the next couple of years, and we're talking 2027, his contract expires, in my opinion, if we don't win this year or next year a major, Arteta might say, I'm out. I'm sure other clubs will be knocking on his door for sure. For sure. And he'll get better quality of players and probably a better board that will give him more money. And when I say better quality of players, I mean better squad, more money to be able to invest in the squad. So if Arteta leaves for whatever reason, if players leave, these big name players, your Salibas, Gabriels, that duo is world class. Rice is world class. Saka is world class. Odegaard on his day can be, honestly, on his day, he can be world class. But you have to deliver to cement that title. And no future at this club of the people I've named is safe, in my opinion, unless we lock down some silverware. At the end of the day, this is what this game's about. Football's a short career. They're not kicking ball till 65. That's me. I'm doing 9 to 5 till 65, unless I can make it on YouTube. If you lot can help me do that, that'd be incredible. But that's the reality, And if Arteta leaves, a lot of these players might have joined on the premise that Arteta will be here. And don't get it twisted. Whoever we get as a follow-up manager, even if they're a world-class manager, let's say we got Diego Simeone, whoever it might be, that's going to require a whole new overhaul of the club. I reckon Andrea Berta has been appointed with some forward thinking in place. But whoever we appoint as the next manager, if Arteta or any of these key players were to leave, obviously we hope Berta's in place and that even if key players did leave, for example, who knows, maybe Martinelli or Trossard might leave this year. We hope his European connection will mean we can bring in good players. But if Arteta or big players do leave, this club's going to take time to adjust to that. Don't get it twisted. And we'll be on another long stretch, potentially, of not winning, trying to adjust, because the Prem is no joke of a competition. We've seen it. We've seen big managers come here and struggle. We've seen big managers come here. Look at Unai Emery, And don't get it wrong. With Unai Emery at Arsenal, I reckon if he had more time to adjust, things would have been better for him. Look at what he did with Aston Villa. I really actually... Well, no, I didn't want to face them. I think we would have struggled against them. But, look at the job they did against PSG. Incredible. And Unai's got that European heritage and that clout, especially with clubs with, not as good players as some of the best managers out there. So, yeah, look, bottom line is I think we have to win this trophy or win silverware this year or next year. These players need to start getting respected across Europe, and they need something to be hopeful for. It's not enough to finish second 3 times in a row. And we're onto something big here. What a big, big, monumental win for the men and the women's game, by the way. Both teams have made changes where we've had, ex players or ex staff come and manage the club. Renee was there playing for Arsenal in her youth. Arteta obviously used to play and captain us. This is a big opportunity. Both teams are through to the semi-finals, both beating Real Madrid comprehensively. But we have to get a trophy at the end of it. Let me know, people. Do you think Arsenal can win the Champions League this year? In my opinion, we can do it. In my opinion, we can do it. Now, don't get me wrong. PSG are going to be tough. Kvaratskhelia, Doué, and Dembele, it's going to be tough, But at the end of the day, I mentioned the world-class centre-backs. Listen, we've got some... I don't know what to call them, but they're gonna start approaching that status, because Timber, the way he locked up Vinny, the way Rodrigo was locked up by Lewis Skelly. Kvaratskhelia is a cold winger, so is Dembele. But Timber and Lewis Skelly, I trust them with that. It's going to be a tough game, and I reckon it could go either way. But if we get to the finals, and I'd rather, to be fair, face Barca, because they'll actually play football. Inter Milan can stifle us. We know how the Italian defending goes. If we face Barca in the final, which will give us, hey, I want that revenge too, I reckon it's possible. I mean, Barca have probably the best front three in world football. But the way they actually play out, they'll afford us space, just like Real Madrid. And I think it's possible. So look, people, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you also think we need to win the Champions League? Thinking about these specific, contracts up in the air, the future of the club. Let me know. And do you think we can win the Champions League? Let me know down in the comments below. Drop a like if you liked the video. Drop a sub if you loved it, to be a part of the NLG fam. And you know what it is. On to Ipswich tomorrow. Hopefully we get some squad rotations and get some minutes in the legs. Need a better performance from Martin Odegaard. He just has not been playing too well. And yeah, we're missing Partey for the first leg of the semi-final. So hopefully he can get some minutes out. And then we'll actually, after the Crystal Palace game on Wednesday, we'll actually have 6 days of rest. So yeah, hopefully the players get some good minutes and we can get a win, given that Newcastle and Nottingham Forest are up our backside. So yeah. Anyway, people, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you in a bit. And happy Easter.